Uto causes relatively little damage in Hong Kong. Egyptian police storm pro-Morsi sitting camps in Cairo. And an Indian submarine explodes, causing deaths.
Hello and a very good evening. Life in Hong Kong returned to normal tonight after the city came to a standstill this morning when severe Typhoon Utor skirted the region. The observatory issued the strong wind signal number 3 shortly before 2 o'clock this afternoon, replacing the number 8 gale or storm signal, which had been in force for 13 hours. While Utor brought relatively minor damage to Hong Kong, it wreaked havoc at sea in neighbouring waters. Stephanie Choi has our top story tonight.
The observatory issued the number 8 gale or storm signal at 1:40 this morning. Utor's closest to Hong Kong hours later, skirting around 250 kilometers to the southwest of the territory. At 1:40 in the afternoon, the observatory replaced the number 8 signal with a strong wind signal number 3, while Utor was moving away from the region towards the western coast of Guangdong.
Under the influence of the outer rain bands of Utor, local weather are expected to be cloudy with squally showers. And the strong wind signal number 3 is expected to remain in force for a period of time overnight. So members of the public should stay on the alert.
Although Utor caused relatively minor damage in the city, it was a different story at sea. At about 10:30 this morning, the government flying service received a report about a Hong Kong-registered cargo ship listing and was in danger of sinking near the Wan Shan Islands to southwest of Lantau. When government flying service helicopters arrived at the scene, the ship had already sunk. The rescuers spotted 21 mainland Chinese crew members in water or on life rafts. They were all lifted to safety. The damage on land was less serious. At about 8 last night in To Kwa Wan, a 2-meter-wide satellite dish plunged onto 2 motorcycles parked along Pao Chong Street. Firefighters were dispatched to clear out over 20 fallen trees that had blocked off roads. The typhoon also affected flights at Hong Kong International Airport. Up to 5 p.m., more than 100 flights had been cancelled and some 400 others delayed. Some travelers were stranded at the airport.
The hostels were all full, and I didn't bring enough money for another night because I wasn't planning on staying another night.
Utor made landfall in Guangdong near Yangjiang in the afternoon. Earlier this morning, the sea became choppy at fishing ports along the Guangdong coast as winds picked up speed. Hainan province was not spared either. Heavy downpours have been forecast there. The influence of Utor was also felt in Macau, where the number 8 storm signal was also in effect from the morning until 3 in the afternoon. It was then replaced with the number 3 signal. Travelers had no choice but to wait out the storm as land, sea and air traffic came to a halt. Stephanie Choi, TVB News.
And just a quick correction to that story earlier. Typhoon Utor's number 8 signal was in fact up for 12 hours. Now, despite some destruction, the effects of the typhoon seemed relatively minor. As Rani Samtani reports, many people managed to enjoy a surprise day off.
As the typhoon moved closer to Hong Kong this morning, Victoria Harbour became visibly rougher than usual. Utor was the strongest tropical cyclone to hit the city this year, but weather conditions didn't seem very menacing as people seemed to have fun with the elements. Around 7 a.m., the eastern side of Hong Kong Island was largely spared from heavy rain. Health-conscious joggers insisted on sticking to their fitness routines. This man said he wasn't worried about the gusts because there's not much danger of anything being blown over in the area. Many others, pleasantly surprised by a sudden day off, went out and enjoyed their morning with a slow breakfast. This woman was happy to be able to go to Yum Cha with her family on this rare occasion because normally she'd be busy at work. Down in Shek O, some residents brought their young ones to the beach to witness the power of Mother Nature. They didn't seem fazed at all by the turbulent interruption of their summer holiday.
We would like to see the weather because You know, Typhoon 8, we find a lot of interesting stuff. And it's nice. The breeze is so nice.
And it wasn't just the kids who came out to admire the natural elements.
Don't you think it's dangerous to keep going out there?
To me, it's not. To me, it's not. Yeah. But for the beginner, it could be a bit dangerous because to them the current is big. It will drag the people away, far away from the beach.
The winds picked up to gale force in the south of Hong Kong early this morning, and the observatory issued warnings about rough seas. But despite the red flag warnings at the beach, some brave surfers went out to catch some good waves. Rani Samtani, TVB News.
And public transportation resumed after the number 8 signal was lowered this afternoon. But the storm disrupted the travel plans of many who were trying to reach their destinations. Joao da Silva has that story.
Buses resumed limited services after the observatory lowered the gale or storm signal number 8 this afternoon. People rushed to get to work as soon as it became strong wind signal number 3, with the Cross Harbour bus stop in Hong Kong packed with commuters. The storm caused disruptions for many, including this newspaper vendor who complained about the lack of people to buy his papers. As the typhoon moved away from Hong Kong this afternoon and ferry services resumed, mainly tourists but also some locals trying to get to work started trickling through the gates here at the Central Ferry Pier.
You're going to work now because of the typhoon?
Yeah, exactly.
What time would you start working normally?
Normally at 9. Normally I work on 9 o'clock.
Because of the typhoon you could
Yes.
not get to work?
We try to visit my own temple, but it's closed. We try to visit the peak, and it's closed. And we are just walking.
Commuters heading to and from the outlying islands, however, had to wait longer before ferry services resumed. The first boat to Cheng Chau only departed from Central at 3:15 because of the rough sea. This passenger said that ferries usually resume services 10 minutes after the storm signal is lowered. He said the ferry operator should start making preparations to resume the services as soon as the observatory announces the time at which the warning will be lowered. And this commuter slammed the ferry operator for the delay and noted that it charges the highest ticket fees. And at the Macau Ferry Terminal 2, many passengers were stranded throughout the night and this morning, among them groups of mainland visitors who claimed to have been there for more than 6 hours. Tensions running high due to the long wait meant there were angry scenes when they eventually boarded. Finally, as the bad weather waned, the MTR Corporation increased the number of trains to peak period frequency to make sure those still going to work could do so without further delay. João da Silva, TVB News.
Turning overseas now, a Russian-built Indian Navy submarine caught fire, exploded and sank early this morning in Mumbai, killing at least some of the 18 sailors trapped on board. While an investigation into the cause of the explosion is underway, the tragedy is being called the worst accident in the country's naval history. Sonia Artera reports.
Just 2 days after India launched its first indigenous aircraft carrier, the country's Navy suffered a major setback. Just after midnight, the INS Sindhurakshak submarine was rocked by a massive explosion. Witnesses said they heard a rocket-like sound, like a loud jet engine, followed by a blast. While some crew members jumped to safety, 18 others were trapped inside. As the vessel began sinking, TV footage capturing the tragedy showed massive flames ravaging the submarine. Another submarine berthed nearby also sustained damage. Smoke emanating from the dock sent fire engines scrambling to the scene. Though firefighters doused the flames by 3 a.m., a team of Navy divers was mobilized to search for survivors and determine the fate of the 18 sailors trapped inside. The submarine had been docked at the highly secured Lion Gate dockyard in Mumbai. It had just undergone major renovations in Russia before sailing back to India. The Indian Navy was quick to issue a statement saying efforts are underway to ascertain the safety of their personnel and salvage the submarine. A high-level probe has been ordered, but officials say sabotage is not being ruled out, as the explosion took place one day before India's Independence Day. While some suspect a battery problem triggered the internal explosion, it is also likely the weapons on board the fully loaded submarine detonated. Prime Minister Manmohan Singh was briefed about the tragedy, and India's defense minister said he was sad some Navy personnel lost their lives for their country. Sonia Artero, TVB News.
Authorities in Egypt today launched a crackdown on protesters in support of ousted President Mohamed Morsi. They cleared 2 opposition sit-in camps in Cairo. Morsi's Muslim Brotherhood says at least 50 people were killed and thousands wounded in the unrest. A violent showdown between security personnel and pro-Morsi forces in Cairo. Today, authorities began clearing the Rabaa al-Adawiya camp in the capital's northeast, a focal point of the protests in support of the deposed leader. Gunfire rang out as armoured vehicles moved in alongside bulldozers to begin clearing away tents. The Muslim Brotherhood said dozens were killed, while state media said a number of security personnel died as they tried to disperse the protesters. Authorities also fired tear gas to try to break up the demonstrators. Similar scenes here in the smaller sit-in camp near Cairo University. By late morning, it was cleared of protesters. Hundreds were arrested from the 2 sites. The crackdown in Cairo has also sparked clashes between security forces and the opposition in several other cities around the country. It came after international efforts failed to mediate an end to Egypt's political crisis. Since the army-backed ouster of Morsi last month, his supporters have been demanding the deposed president's reinstatement. More than 300 people have been killed in the unrest. And analysts believe the clearing of the sit-in camps today would strip the Muslim Brotherhood of its main leverage against the new government. Still, the group remains defiant. A senior leader has now called on the police and troops to rebel against their commander. He's also urged Egyptians to take to the streets to show their disapproval of what happened today. And across the border from Egypt, Israel has released 26 Palestinian prisoners ahead of the resumption of peace talks in Jerusalem. There were emotional scenes in the Palestinian territories as the freed inmates reunited with their families. One group arrived at the West Bank and was welcomed by Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas of Fatah, while the others went to Gaza, which is under the control of Hamas. Israeli and Palestinian envoys are set to hold US-sponsored peace talks later today.
Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe will not visit the controversial Yasukuni Shrine tomorrow, the 68th anniversary of his country's defeat in World War II. That's according to Japanese media reports today, but he will be making an offering there. Such a move could still anger Japan's neighbours, such as China and South Korea, both victims of wartime aggression. Abe is likely to skip visiting the Yasukuni Shrine, which honours the country's war dead and some convicted war criminals. Media reports say Abe will be making an offering as the head of the ruling Liberal Democratic Party. And at least 2 of his cabinet members and a group of conservative lawmakers are expected to pay homage at the shrine tomorrow. And still to come in the news. Yet another drug bust at the airport. Ma Ying-jeou makes a historic visit to Haiti. And a disfigured fresco of Christ, now a successful artist.
And we're back tonight with more local news. Customs officers say they've made the largest drug haul involving an individual air passenger. They found 48 kilos of cocaine from a man arriving from Brazil. That's one of 2 cases involving passengers on the same flight. In all, authorities see 60 kilos of the drug worth $58 million. Evelyn Leung has more.
Customs officers say they have foiled 2 drug trafficking attempts by air passengers at Chaplapkot Airport. Yesterday, they found 48 kilos of cocaine wrapped in quilts inside 2 suitcases belonging to a 35-year-old local man arriving from the Brazilian city of Sao Paulo.
After open examination on his baggage, customs officer found that the man tried to make use of the thick grit to hide the smell of drugs. He also used of multiple materials, including compact bags, tape, carbon paper, in an attempt to evade customs inspection by X-ray checker and detective dog.
Customs officers say that's the single largest haul of drugs involving trafficking by one passenger. The suspect claimed to be a chef. Authorities also found 12 kilos of cocaine in the suitcase of a 22-year-old Russian woman arriving on the same flight.
After open examination, 4 brand new backpacks with exceptionally heavy weight were found inside the baggage. Eventually, 4 blocks of cocaine, each of 3 kilograms, were found inside the suitcase.
Authorities say both suspects arrived in Hong Kong via Madrid and Beijing. They are said to have chosen a more complicated route to try to avoid detection. The 2 suspects will appear in court tomorrow. Evelyn Lang, TVB News.
Hong Kong's de facto airline Cathay Pacific reported a small but tidy profit in the first half of the year. It compares with the more than $900 million loss it suffered during the same period last year. The airline carrier was cautious about the rest of 2013, saying business remains challenging. It may be turbulent out there, but Cathay Pacific announced today it managed to eke out a $24 million profit for the first 6 months of the year. Cathay says demand for long-haul flights has been ideal, with a boost of travellers between February and April this year. But the avian flu scare, plus the ongoing political crisis in the Middle East, affected the airline's performance between May and June. Cathay says its cargo business continues to be sluggish, with its new $5.5 billion air cargo terminal at Hong Kong Airport not fully operational until the end of the year.
So we had lower profits from Air China, but then we've had the losses from the Air China joint venture, the cargo joint venture that John mentioned earlier, running at around $50 million a month at an operating level.
But Cathay pointed out it managed a 3% cut in expenditure after rerouting some flights and retiring older planes which are less efficient and guzzle more fuel. The airline will receive newer, more efficient planes in the coming months, which will help it save money on fuel, its most significant cost. On whether Australian budget airline Jetstar's intention to set up in Hong Kong will add pressure to Cathay, the chairman said it's up to Jetstar to meet local requirements.
They will have to be incorporated here, which is not very hard. You can be incorporated, but Hong Kong must be your principal place of business. So it's not just a question of saying you would like to set up somewhere. You have to, meet the government policy on that. And I think, by Jetstar's own admissions, they've said publicly that they're an Australian airline based in Australia.
He denied suggestions Cathay was somehow blocking Jetstar's entry into the market. Diane To, TVB News. And Taiwan's President Ma Ying-jeou has made a historic visit to Haiti as part of a 12-day tour of Latin America and the Caribbean. Ma's landing at Port-au-Prince marked the first time a serving top leader of Taiwan has set foot on the Caribbean nation. He was welcomed by Haitian President Michel Martelly at the airport. Haiti is one of 23 countries that maintain diplomatic ties with Taiwan. Speaking at a news conference, Ma highlighted the cooperation between the two sides, notably Taiwanese aid to help Haiti rebuild in the aftermath of a massive earthquake 3 years ago. In a symbolic gesture, Ma and Martelly laid the first stone of a new courthouse to be built near the grounds of the government palace. The construction of the $60 million courthouse is being carried out by a Taipei-based construction company. 6 researchers spent the past 4 months living in a small dome on a barren lava field in Hawaii to figure out what foods astronauts might eat on Mars or other deep space missions. The 6 researchers were selected for the NASA-funded study to prepare meals aimed at combating malnourishment and food boredom by astronauts. The study was dubbed Hawaii Space Exploration Analog and Simulation. While the popular canned meat Spam was the most common ingredient because of its long shelf life, the group hopes to present other food ideas at the International Astronautical Congress later this year in Beijing. And finally for tonight, the Spanish woman whose botched attempt at restoring a fresco of Christ is now laughing all the way to the bank. Her own art exhibition is pulling in the crowds and money. Since gaining worldwide attention, the fresco of Christ has drawn more than 40,000 visitors and raised more than $66,000 for charity. The artist Cecilia Jimenez is now welcoming mass visitors to her own art exhibition on display until August 24th. The original fresco depicted Christ with a crown of thorns called Behold the Man. After Jimenez touched it up, many found it so ugly they dubbed it Behold the Monkey. Disfigured or not, the town of Borja put the likeness on merchandise that it hopes to sell for years to come and share the profits with the artists. I guess beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
Exactly.
That's the news for tonight. Thanks for watching.
Good night.
Hong. Today's temperatures range from 25.2 to 27.6 degrees, and the current temperature is 26.7 degrees Celsius. 56.1 millimeters of rain has been recorded since midnight, and the strong wind signal number 3 is now in force. So Freddie, how's the weather tomorrow? It will be cloudy with squally showers and a few thunderstorms tomorrow. Winds will moderate gradually and there will be rough seas and swell. Temperatures will range from 25 to 28 degrees. Tomorrow's API is forecast at 10 to 55 and the pollution level will range from low to high. The maximum UV index forecast for tomorrow will be about 5. Now, here's the latest global weather update. Cloudy in Shanghai, rain in Taipei. Rain in Guangzhou, showers in Macau. Cloudy in Beijing, Seoul, and Tokyo. Showers in Ho Chi Minh City, rain in Manila. Thunderstorms in Singapore, cloudy in Jakarta. Rain in Karachi, showers in Mumbai. Sunny in Cairo, showers in Nairobi. Sunny in Brisbane, Sydney, and Melbourne. Sunny in Toronto and New York. Cloudy in Vancouver, windy in San Francisco. Cloudy in London and Frankfurt, sunny in Zurich. And that's the weather. Have a great evening.